Now that Apple has finally released excellent cursor support for the iPad, there are now a lot of people looking to buy an iPad Pro to use it like a laptop. And by far, the best way to do this is to buy a keyboard case that features a built-in trackpad. And for that, you're gonna wanna choose between Apple's Magic Keyboard case and the brand new Brydge Pro Plus, since they're both very high quality products that match up to the quality of the iPad Pro. Now here's where it gets tricky. You can buy the Brydge Pro Plus for $100 less than the Magic Keyboard case. And by quickly glancing at the spec sheet, it seems like it actually gets the same features as Apple's Magic Keyboard and maybe even more, so it's a no-brainer, right? Well, here's the honest truth about the Brydge Pro Plus keyboard case for the iPad Pro. The all-metal design is nice and it makes it feel like a high-quality MacBook. The hinge design is pretty awesome since you have a much wider 0 to 180 degrees of angle adjustability, so that's great. The keyboard also feels excellent and works very well. The keyboard backlighting options work great, and you even get the top row of function keys that are important to a lot of people, and that's something you don't get with the Magic Keyboard case. It also has a trackpad, albeit a bit smaller than the one on the Magic Keyboard, but it's definitely there, so it seems to be more feature-rich for a much better price. However, the truth is that there's a major flaw with this keyboard case, and it also happens to be the most important feature, and that's the trackpad support. It's not the fact that the Brydge Pro Plus's trackpad uses a diving board design, so it isn't as nice to click as the Magic Keyboard's unique floating trackpad design, which makes it much easier to click, and you get an even clicking feel anywhere on the trackpad, even near the top, which is close to impossible to click on the Brydge. It also has nothing to do with the trackpad's hardware, since it uses a glass touchpad just like the Magic Keyboard. The major flaw is actually the cursor and trackpad software support that is extremely lacking compared to the Magic Keyboard case. And yes, this is after the brand new firmware update that just got released for the Brydge Pro Plus. For example, pinch to zoom does not work on the Brydge at all, so you can't zoom into photos, you can't zoom out to exit full screen mode on a YouTube video, you can't zoom in to view small text on a web page, and you can't zoom out to view and switch between tabs in Safari. With the Magic Keyboard, these pinch to zoom scenarios work perfectly. Another issue is that swiping side to side between home screen pages is very glitchy. A lot of the time, one swipe registers as two, so it entirely skips over a page, and sometimes it doesn't even register at all, so you have to try to swipe again. With the Magic Keyboard, it registers every single time. Another issue is when you're trying to scroll through web pages or apps like Facebook. The scrolling is very inconsistent. It scrolls in large chunks where it speeds up and quickly stops, and it's hard to control the scrolling speed, whereas with the Magic Keyboard, scrolling is incredibly smooth, so you can read and scan the page as you scroll, and you can easily control how fast or slow you want to scroll, as well as being able to easily switch directions. But the most important trackpad feature that you do not get on the Brydge is 3-finger gesture support. For example, swipe up with 3 fingers on the Magic Keyboard to instantly get to the home screen, swipe up and stop to get to the app switcher, and swipe left and right with 3 fingers to instantly switch between apps so you don't even have to use the app switcher. These are the most important gestures if you want to boost productivity while using your iPad Pro, and just like pinch to zoom, you simply don't get those features on the Brydge Pro Plus. And on top of that, the entire trackpad experience isn't smooth like you expected it to be when you bought it, with swipes sometimes not registering, and scrolling and swiping not being half as smooth as it should be. Now, if you're wondering why there is such a big difference between the two, I have 2 reasons why I think the Brydge Pro Plus's trackpad support is so flawed. The first reason is the fact that the Brydge uses Bluetooth to connect to the iPad Pro, compared to Apple's Smart Connector, which comes on the Magic Keyboard, which basically makes a direct, lag-free, and very reliable connection between it and the iPad Pro. And of course, Bluetooth on the Brydge uses a wireless connection, which introduces lag and reliability issues, which is why swipes and gestures simply don't register each and every time like they do on the Magic Keyboard case. And since the Brydge does not use the smart connector, it has to have a built-in battery, which needs to be recharged or else it won't work at all. So that's just one reason why the trackpad support is flawed. But the even bigger deal that I think a lot of people are underestimating is the fact that Brydge does not have access to the same trackpad support APIs that Apple made for the Magic Keyboard case. Yes, Brydge did mention that they're going to work on making the trackpad work better, but if they could have added 3-finger gesture support and pinch to zoom, they would have done it already in this brand new firmware update that just got released and that we're using, but they didn't because they can't. Apple has to give them access to these unique APIs, and doing this would make the Brydge Pro Plus a much better value. And ultimately, less people will buy Apple's Magic Keyboard case, and that would obviously be bad for Apple. So don't expect the Brydge to get these trackpad features anytime soon or ever. This basically forces Brydge to have to write their own custom software based on the old APIs that they have access to, which is why the swiping and scrolling isn't nearly as smooth as on the Magic Keyboard case. Now where it really gets interesting is when you look at the new Logitech Combo Touch keyboard case for the iPad in the iPad Air. That keyboard uses the smart connector and it gets all of the same trackpad features like smooth scrolling, pinch to zoom, and 3-finger gestures. The only reason Logitech can do this is because they have a deal with Apple, and they pay Apple a licensing fee to use the smart connector on that keyboard case. And if you're wondering why Logitech doesn't make one of these for the iPad Pro, it's probably part of the deal, because Apple wants the Magic Keyboard case to be the only high-end option that gets perfect trackpad support thanks to the smart connector. So don't expect Logitech to come out with the Combo Touch for the iPad Pro, and definitely don't expect Apple to give Brydge the access to their new trackpad support APIs. So the truth about the Brydge Pro Plus keyboard case is that the trackpad will most likely never be as good as the trackpad on the Magic Keyboard case. So if you care about the trackpad, invest the extra $100 into the Magic Keyboard and enjoy perfect scrolling, all of the gestures you'll need, and the rest of the features we discuss in our full review, which you can check out after this video. But if you don't really care that much about the trackpad, we strongly suggest buying the much cheaper Brydge Pro Keyboard case that does not have a trackpad, which is currently on sale for only $100 on Amazon. And in the case that you do want a trackpad, but you can't afford the Magic Keyboard, you could definitely go for the new Brydge Pro Plus. Just don't expect to get an excellent trackpad experience. So whichever option you choose, we'll have links down in the description below to the best deals on each of these keyboard cases. And if you learned something new from this review, go ahead and click the circle above to subscribe for more videos like this one. And definitely go and check out our Magic Keyboard case review right over there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.